Hello there, Aquarius. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. I am changing the format on these forecasts this time, where I was looking at each week as a time frame separately. I am splitting the month into two, so we've got two time frames this time around. Because we have January 3rd through the 16th to start with, and I'm starting with the 3rd because my December readings actually went through January 2nd. So we've got January 3rd through the 16th, and then we've got January 17th through the 31st will be the second time frame. But for right now, we're looking at January the 3rd through the 16th. For those of you who are cross-watchers, you are certainly welcome to be here if you're looking to get insights about things that your Aquarius person may be dealing with or interacting with. However, please keep in mind that on my channel, energies are not reversible. So what you're seeing here is a reading that is for Aquarius and about Aquarius. If you want a reading that is for you and about you, then you want to check out your sun sign, your rising sign, and or your moon sign, or whatever combination thereof that works for you. All right, let's take a peek at some cards now. Okie dokie, Aquarius, we have your cards on the table. What we have showing up first talks to me about your environment. And your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. Usually it's home. Sometimes it could be some other place as well, though. So you want to sort of keep an open mind about where you may have energy or effort invested. So the first thing that we see here, it looks to me like you have some kind of issue or concern about your environment right now that has you a little bit stumped. That could very easily be this idea of we don't get to leave our environments because we're in the middle of a pandemic for some of us. Does not have to be that, though. That's the first thing that comes to the top of my head whenever I look at this card, though. It does look like there is definitely something to celebrate in the environment, somewhere in the time frame from the 3rd to through the 16th. So something that is accomplished, that has changed, something that just feels good. Maybe there's somebody's birthday in your environment or in your family, but something worth celebrating comes up. And last but not least, it looks to me like you're really nailed down to your environment. So it may be that you actually were hoping to be able to move around, maybe to do some business travel, maybe to check on family or go see neighbors even. I don't know what kind of motion you had planned, what kind of change of environment you had planned, but it looks like any changes in the environment are not happening, especially once we get towards the end of this time frame, the last 4 or 5 days of this time frame especially. I feel like you guys are starting to feel really restless and pinned down because you're not able to get out and do the motion that you would like to, or the movement that you would like to. All right, let's look at your subconscious leanings, Aquarius. So what we have for subconscious leanings is, looks to me like you have some kind of new responsibility on the horizon for yourself. And the idea of this new responsibility has you feeling unhappy. Or maybe it's just picking up old responsibility that you had put down before. Either way, this idea of carrying responsibility, this particular responsibility, has you feeling very unhappy. And it has you taking some time, not just in the subconscious, but in the tangible world, has you taking some time to detach and sort of step away from everyone and everything for a little bit and really think about what you want to do about this idea that this responsibility is not making you very happy. I kind of want to look at that. I want to see what that responsibility is. So I think that's where our expanded is going to be. And once again, this is all in the subconscious. You're taking time to think things over. That's happening in the conscious world. But I don't know if you're actually grabbing hold of this responsibility and doing anything with it just yet as far as the tangible world. Okay, you may just be considering what happens if, or planning for the future. All right, so the next thing that we are looking at here, Aquarius, talks to me about your learning style, first off, and secondly, of your communication style. So we're going to look at learning style first. And here I am seeing that you're doing a lot of reflection, a lot of self-reflection even right now, and figuring out some things because of that. And I feel like, there's a lot of confusion. That's why you're doing the self-reflection. But I feel like there's getting to be less and less confusion as you go through time here. And that is really evident in this idea that there's a lot of curiosity here. And just by you asking some questions out of curiosity, I don't think you maybe even have intent of clearing anything up. I think you may be stumbling upon some answers that bring you some real clarity just out of your own curiosity. And then also learning style has to do with working with other people, getting together with other people and talking over ideas and concepts and taking that information and moving forward with it. Next, we're looking at communication style. It does look like there's some communication going on for you, especially at the beginning, the first third of this time frame, where that communication can really be grounded in emotion. It can be about emotions, or you could be having this communication because of your emotions, probably both. Really sorting out the second card about your communication style during this time frame. It seems to me that normally you have a lot of variety of communication that is available to you, a lot of variety of techniques. Maybe there's video phone and messenger and regular text and phone and in person and all that good stuff. Just seems to me like normally there's a variety, at least with a particular person or maybe even a group of people. There's normally a variety of ways that you can communicate with them, and it looks to me like most of those are no longer functional during this time frame. So this could be where somebody has blocked you, or this could be where somebody just isn't receiving messages because their technology source is out. But there's something going on here where your normal ability to communicate with somebody is really dramatically cut down. What else do we have? Once again, we have communication coming up about emotions, but I think this is more, this isn't so much of an emotional conversation, but about emotions, talking with friends about different things that make you happy and don't make you happy and that type of thing, kind of mulling things over with friends about your emotions. So not necessarily like sharing emotions with a particular person, just talking about things. All right, next let's look at work for you, Aquarius. Aquarians. It looks like you have somebody giving you a headache at work. I will tell you that. Um, what I'm picking up about work is that you have a really interesting situation there. And I think it is causing some confusion for you. You're trying to make decisions about what is the best thing for you to do or the best way to handle things. And it's kind of hard to tell that. And the reason it's kind of hard for you to decipher that or tell that is because you have two people in your sphere of influence at work who both influence you as far as what you're supposed to be doing and what you are doing. And so you have two very different personalities here that are influencing you. And so I think this is what's confusing. So you've got one personality who is really difficult to work for. And the reason they're difficult to work for is because their target about what they want is a moving target. They're always changing what their objectives are, what they actually want, what they want to accomplish, and therefore what they want from you to help them accomplish that. That's just always changing. And I don't think that they're pleasant about this type of change. I don't think that they're giving you a heads up of, oh, by the way, we've changed this policy, and so we're doing it this way now, or, now we have to do this by this deadline instead of by the other deadline, or whatever it is. They're not really giving you a heads up either about what's changing so that you can make the adjustments. Just things are changing. And so when you go to them with the results and they're like, oh, well, this is 3 days late. And you're like, I thought it was 2 days early. How is it 3 days late? Oh, well, we changed that deadline like a week ago. That type of situation and scenarios are the types of things that come up with this person. This person is also somebody who is not necessarily going to tell you the truth if they think that the truth is not going to have you doing things that they want you to do, or doing things in the time frame that they want you to. So they have no qualms with kind of twisting things to get what they want from you. Okay, so they're manipulative. All right, that's the bottom line. They're manipulative. They can be really moody and grumpy. In this case, I feel like they're really bipolar. So they're really up and they're really down with their moods. And I don't think that you ever really know exactly what you're going to walk into when you walk into this person's office or this person's workspace, whatever their workspace might be. So that's one of the energies that you're interacting with when it comes to work. Now you have another energy that's showing up here for me, and this energy is showing up as a buffer energy. So if this person over here wasn't confusing enough, now you have another energy that's a buffer energy between you and this other person over here. And this buffer energy is somebody who is much more calm, much more nurturing, much more encouraging, much easier to work with. She's more patient. She's able to explain. I keep saying she, but it could be a he. Either of these people could be either gender. But this person is much more able to explain what they want, when they want it, what the deadline is, all of that good stuff. So I feel like you've got this buffer person between you and this other person who's really hard to work with. And so the buffer person is sort of trying to insulate you from all the cray-cray that's coming from your first person. The problem is that when they're insulating you, they're trying to make things easier for you, make things better for you, make things not so cray-cray for you. But at the same time, in doing that, they're not letting you know about the sudden changes that Mr. or Ms. Cray-Cray over here is making. And so when they're not letting you know about those cray-cray changes, then that just kind of leaves you blindsided whenever you find out about them later, because you're floating along thinking that things are good and things are fine. And it's not something that this person is not intentionally setting you up. This person is trying to insulate you from the cray-cray straight up. But I don't think they realize that they're setting you up for just being blindsided that much more, that much harder whenever you do something and it's not what cray-cray up here actually wants done. So tricky. Things are tricky at work. And I think you're having a hard time deciding how you want to handle this situation and what you want to do about this situation. My first instinct to tell you for advice would be get rid of this middle person, go straight to the horse's mouth about what this other person wants. But the problem with that is, first of all, I don't see this other person as wanting to spend extra time telling more than one person what they want. But also, the way this other person's goals and targets change, it may not do you that much good to talk to them, because 20 minutes later they may have a different target or goal. So I'm not quite sure what the best advice for that situation is. I think that's something that you're going to have to sort of feel out there. Actually, no, I'm going to change. We're not going to make the advanced reading about subconscious leanings. We're going to make it about Well, we're going to put both of these. We're going to do subconscious leanings, and we're going to do best advice for handling your work situation in the advanced for this particular time frame. There will be a link down below. I've just recently started doing these advanced readings, and it's where I take a part of the reading and I just break it down and make it look at it much more specifically to help you guys understand better what's going on. All right, so the next thing that we're looking at right now, though, has to do with this whole idea of where your personality is being grown or expanded as you go through this time frame. It looks to me like you are starting to see that there is a lot of untapped potential in your life and in your surroundings. You have a lot of opportunities around you that you haven't tapped into yet, and you're starting to realize that. They're starting to become visible to you, where before they were kind of right under your nose, but you really weren't paying attention. You had no reason to pay attention. Now you're starting to see them and starting to think about, well, what can I do with some of these opportunities that are right here that I haven't really taken advantage of before. And I think that you're even, as you're doing this, I think you're calling upon guidance from an ancestor or possibly a friend who has passed away previously, who would know about some of these opportunities. They have experience in some of these opportunities. And so I think that you're asking for guidance from them and from help from them as you move forward with these brand new opportunities. And the thing is, I think you're asking for that guidance or that help because you're seeing these opportunities, you're seeing that they're untapped and that you could do something with them, but you're a little bit confused about how to go about it. It looks to me like analytically, you're seeing one way to go about it, but your heart is saying, well, I'm not so sure that's the best way to go about it. And so you have a little bit of conflict there. I think that's why you're calling on an ancestor or, a friend, somebody who has passed over, who had influence on your life before, to help you sort through this and take advantage of these opportunities in a good way. Very cool. Very cool. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that in a reading. That's awesome. Please excuse my constant sipping. It's just that when I talk, my throat dries out, and so it's much easier for me to keep going if I keep rehydrating. All right, let's look next at those things that you stand for, Aquarius. And then after that, we'll look at, well, let me explain. These things that you stand for when they show up in a reading, this is something that somebody has confronted you about or has asked you to explain. And so we're going to look at what it is you've had to explain or defend. And we're also going to look at how this other person sees you, who confronted you, how they see you after this conversation. So you had a situation where there was somebody in your sphere of influence who was continuously trying to make decisions for you that were not necessarily good decisions. And they really weren't decisions for this other person to make. They were decisions for you to make. Something happened with that situation where you finally called this person on that, and they've been shut down. They're not going to be stepping into your territory to make your decisions anymore, okay? And so what's going on is now you have an opportunity to learn about these situations where this person was making decisions because you didn't have the opportunity to learn because this other person was handling it. So now you're having to learn more or less by the seat of your pants. And it looks like as you're learning, things are moving slow. Figuring this out is not as easy as it could be because I feel like this person who was making all these decisions for you is actually the person who was supposed to train you so that you could make these decisions for yourself. So now that you've said, look, I don't want you to keep making these decisions for me, they are not really feeling great about teaching you how to make these decisions for yourself. They want to be justified in the idea that they should be making these decisions because if you fall flat on your face with this, then that makes it look like they should have been making these decisions all along. So why do we watch these readings ahead of time? Because if we see the energy that we don't like, we have a heads up. We have a chance to change it. So here's what I would say about this. If you do have a person that you recognize as being like this in your sphere of influence, who is stepping in, taking control, making decisions that you should be making for yourself, then, and they are supposed to be teaching you how to make these decisions, then it might be time to, in a more gentle way, say to them, why did you choose this? What made you decide that this is the best thing? And start really getting them to teach you, sort of putting them in the corner to where they have to teach you, putting them in a situation where they have to teach you why they're making the decisions that they're making so that you can learn how to make these decisions for yourself in the future. And that way you're not alienating them and keeping them from helping you learn how to make these decisions, but you're also walking into your own authority as well. Okay? So anyway, after you've explained this situation, which hopefully this energy is going to all change, so none of it will come true now that you've seen this reading. But after you've explained the situation about this person and how now they don't want to help you learn what you need to know about making these decisions, how the other person, the one that you've talked to or defended this to, how they see you is that they're seeing you as that you got yourself into a position where you really didn't know anything about the situation or how to operate in that situation, and it was overwhelming for you. And so now you've kind of got yourself into a situation where you have no choice about what direction to take. You have to move forward, and you're kind of moving forward starting from scratch, trying to figure out what you're good at and what you know and where that all plugs into here, what you can do and what you can't do. And so it seems to me like they've got a pretty good understanding of what the situation is after you talk to them. All right. Which just means you're a good communicator. Okay, Aquarius. Let's look at your flex point. Flex point is where things start to change. Your progression starts to change because your perspective starts to change about something. So you have a lesson or experience here that allows you to change your perspective. And then we're going to look at what happens as you incorporate that lesson or experience into your life. And so this is the flex point. Look at this. Wow. Lesson or experience here is that you have a situation from your past where something that had made you feel secure had suddenly and unexpectedly been taken away from you. And now, when we see you in this time frame, you're recovering from that. Part of how you're recovering from that is just by following your gut, following your intuitive hunches, following those nudges that come through energetically. And part of how you're overcoming that is because you do have the support and the help of somebody who has a lot of integrity, who's a great friend to you, and a person who has a certain amount of power and resources to back you up, basically. So very cool. We see a recovery coming into play through you following your own gut instinct and intuition with the backup of somebody else. For a lot of you, this somebody else could be as simple as being your husband. For others of you, this could be an investor. So lots of different ways that could play out, though. What's going on as this is happening, as this recovery is happening? You are making a decision about whether you want to keep things the way they have been or whether you want to go out and create something that is new and completely different, something that you don't even really know everything about. You would be creating it all straight up, brand new from scratch. And it looks like you are collaborating with somebody once you've made this decision. I think you've made this decision to go out and do that new thing. And you are collaborating with somebody who can help you to go out and do that new thing that's kind of an unknown. And you are letting go of something that basically you're letting go of what was old and what was comfortable to make room for that new experience and that new future. Also going on at the same time, I think that whatever this is that you're letting go of, I think it makes you really sad to realize that that's what has to happen and to actually let go of it. I think that this is making you really sad, but you also are realizing that there is nothing fixing that situation or that relationship or whatever that is, whether it's an employment opportunity or a contract or whatever. There's nothing fixing that. There's nothing bringing that into right. And there's no communicating with anybody about bringing that into right. And so it looks to me like you really you have no choice but to let that go and collaborate with somebody else on something new. All right. Now let's look at where we see you at the end of this time frame, Aquarius. End of the time frame. Is this what I think it is? Aquarius, I think you had an opportunity, or you will have had by this time, an opportunity to figure out what makes you happy again. What flips your triggers and makes you happy. And I think that you cut that short. I think that where we're seeing you at the end of this time frame is you're cutting that short and you are devoting yourself to somebody else. You're making somebody else's priorities more important than your own happiness, more important than your own priorities when we get to the end of this time frame. This is really actually very sad to me because it shows me somebody who started to reach for their own happiness and then aborted that to become someone else's servant and to be very self-sacrificing in that, not even taking care of yourself, not even coming to the point of replenishing yourself. You didn't even get to the point that you found out what makes you happy before you stopped looking, and now you're just doing something else. Were you scared to be happy? Is this easier for you than being happy? The reason that this makes me so sad is because I understand wanting to help people and wanting to be there for people and wanting to do for people. I'm very much like that myself. But one of the lessons that I've learned along the way in my life is that you can only be there for people as long as you have energy, as long as you have been replenished and refilled. And so once we start losing that replenishment, we start hitting burnout, we start getting grumpy, we start not being as productive for those people that we want to serve, that we want to help, that we want to encourage, that we want to lift up. Because we haven't been replenished, we haven't been encouraged, we haven't been lifted up. Our fire goes out. And so that's why I think this is so sad, because you had a chance to find what makes you happy and then you shut it down. You consciously shut it down to serve other people. And that's only going to go so far until at some point you hit burnout and frustration with those people. So, can we change this energy? Absolutely. If we see this energy coming in, then Aquarius, the best thing that we can do is say, you know what? You are really important to me, other person, and I'm happy to help you with certain things, but I also need time for myself. And just set those boundaries. And set them with yourself, too, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is setting those boundaries for yourself and then sticking with them. Okay? So that's where we see you at the end of this time frame. I am going to go back here, and I'm going to look at subconscious leanings. We're going to see what this responsibility is all about that you have in your subconscious. You're thinking about picking it up, and that makes you unhappy and is causing you to take some time to reconsider. I want to know what that responsibility is. Is that work related? Is that personal related? We want to see what kind of specifics we can find there, just so we can give you guys an idea. And then we want to look at this whole work situation that's so strange with these two people that are so different that you're working with or working for. So let's wrap this up. I'll leave the link for the expanded down below, and you guys can check that out if you're interested. And if not, then I'll see you back here in a few seconds for the rest of the month. Welcome back, Aquarius. Glad to have you. We are looking now at January the 17th through the 31st. I have my little cheat sheet so I don't forget where I am. Time to change that out. Okay, so January 17th through the 31st for you, Aquarius. Let's see what kind of energy we have moving in during that time frame. Let's take a peek. Okay, Aquarius, we have your cards on the table. Let's take a peek at your environment first off. What do we have showing up here? You have a bipolar environment. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. It does look like you're trying to make up your mind about something that's going on in your environment. If there's something that's happening in your environment that somebody is like intending to do that is not making you so thrilled about the environment, or if there's something that is just kind of off track and has to be fixed, basically. I do think that as you're trying to figure this out, you may be feeling a little bit dejected, or maybe even a little bit of a pity party type of mentality here. But I'm really happy that by the time we get to the end of this time frame, or the end of the month of January, whatever this is has been resolved, excuse me, and has been resolved in a good way, because I actually see you celebrating and happy about how this has turned out in the end. Excuse me. So basically what we have going on, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. Okay. So basically what we have going on is that there's a transformation that's happening in your home or your environment, whatever your environment is. And part of that transformation, I'm going to tell you, based on what was just going on with my voice there for a good little bit, has to do with you being able to actually say what your truest truth is and bring it out to the world. So there's some kind of something that was interfering with that in your home, maybe even in your family. And that has been resolved by the time we get to the end of the month. That was just odd. Okay, so next thing we're looking at is subconscious leanings, Aquarius. There's something that you've been really frustrated about having to do with your security, possibly with your relationships, security from your relationships, or security from your finances, maybe even both. I find that many times that's very much intertwined. But definitely you're frustrated with the amount of security that you have, because it feels to you like you're not able to put in the energy and effort that you would like to in really fortifying whatever that is that feels like it's bringing you security right now. So if this is about finances, this may be that you feel like you can't work, or you can't do the normal things that you would do financially to bring money in. If this is about relationships, this could be that you're feeling like you're not able to pursue a relationship because you want to. Maybe it's because it's the pandemic and nobody can get out and really hang out with each other very easily. Maybe it's because your partner is at a distance and it's become difficult, or there's just something going on where whatever this is that is making you feel secure during this particular time, you're feeling like you can't really invest in it or work on it anymore right now, and that has you really frustrated. And that's what's going on in your subconscious mind, is you're working on, how do I get out of this frustration? How do I get this situation into a better place for myself. Okay. Now, let's see. The next thing that we are looking at, Aquarius, talks to me about your learning style and also your communication style. So, learning style, you are very sharp. You're intelligent. You pick up information very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. Somebody tells you something and you've pretty much got it. I do feel like there is something going on that you're finding out about or learning or doing research on that is not making you very happy at this particular moment in time. And you have something else going on that has had the potential to create a lot of confusion in your life in the past. But I think you're finding out a lot more about that situation. And I don't think that you couldn't have found about it before. I don't think anybody was keeping secrets before. But I think you've just come into a situation where you've started to find out more about whatever this situation is, and you're starting to see more of the actual truth around that situation. La, da, 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 da. Now, looking at communication style, I do think your communication style is rock solid, meaning that people know exactly what to expect from you when it comes to communication because you're very clear. And so I don't think that you really leave too much for people to wonder about whenever you're communicating with them. I also feel like there is some communication that you're holding back on. I'm getting sort of this wait and see type of feel that you're waiting to see if you're really going to have to say these things or not, because I think you've got something going on that you feel like you may need to say something or make some type of announcement or share some information that you're hoping that circumstances will work out in some kind of way so that you don't have to. So there's this wait and see attitude about something that you're communicating about during this time frame. And then also we've still got this thing that comes up. This was here the last time frame too, with your communication, where you have several different ways to communicate with somebody, but your means of communication with them is incredibly limited and has been cut down. So it may be that the only way you can communicate with this person is via some other person. All right, let's look at work. Let's see if work looks any different this time. So here's what's interesting. It is definitely different. I feel like you are trying to learn some new skills to make yourself more valuable at work, but you're having a hard time with that. It looks like that is basically being blocked because people don't want to share information with you. People don't want to show you how things need to be done or explain where this comes from or why. But we have a really great positive here, which is that you have a nice support network around you. So I think even if there's one person that doesn't want to share information with you, I think that you have plenty of people around you who are willing and able to help you figure things out on the go as needed. So is it frustrating? Yes. Is it impossible? No. Okay, you're just going to have to count on your friends a little bit. All right, so the next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about that part of your personality, which is being grown or expanded, as we go through this particular time frame. What do we have? What do we have? It feels like you haven't been paying too much attention to your spiritual side, to your intuition, to meditation, or your manifesting like you normally have before. And it looks to me like the reason you haven't is because there's somebody else who's sort of taking control of what you do with your time and with your life, and they're interfering with where you would spend normal time working on yourself spiritually and working on your life in an energetic manner. You're not doing that anymore because this other person has come in and said, you know, you need to be here by this time, you need to be doing this by this time, whatever all that is. And I feel like before we get to the end of the month, you're actually moving away from that situation because your spiritual enrichment is important to you. And so you're moving away from this situation where somebody else is trying to tell you your every move that you should be making. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is something that you stand for during this time frame. This is going to be something that somebody has confronted you on in some way. Maybe they just want an explanation, or maybe you actually have to defend the situation. So we're going to take a look at that, and then we're going to take that situation, and then we'll take a look at what this person thinks of you after you've made this explanation. All right, so it looks like you had a situation where somebody was trying to take advantage of you and you just shut that down. You're like, thank you, but no. Appreciate that. No, no, not happening. And I think that you brought it to a very complete close. You brought the situation to a very complete close. And I'm going to tell you also that part of how you brought that to that complete close is through guidance from spirit, from probably an ancestor, somebody who is male, who crossed over already, who had some type of position of leadership in your life, whether they were a spouse, a teacher, a mentor, a daddy, a grandpa, or whatever they were. It looks like they were really influencing you to not put up with somebody taking advantage of you anymore. And they really helped you to come up with the means of shutting down that situation. Now, I do need to say abuse can happen in all kinds of ways. Abuse is not just physical. There's financial abuse, there's emotional abuse. There's a lot of different ways that abuse can happen. So I feel like some of you are kind of missing what's happening here because of the word abuse has kind of thrown you off. You're thinking in a very single-minded way about what abuse is, but you want to just be aware there's a lot of different kinds of abuses that this could actually be talking about or covering. Let's see. How does this other person feel about you after you've had this conversation about this situation? They're a little bit indecisive about you, but I think they're indecisive because they just don't know what to think about you. I think that by you shutting this down has really surprised them, and they see you as being on a new path that you haven't been on before, where you're actually, not letting somebody just walk all over you. And they're seeing you as looking at things in a much more analytical than emotional way, and really looking at things with logic and seeing, what makes sense, not just looking at things with your heart, but also with your head. Okay? So now let's take a peek. Let's take a peek next at your flex time or your flex point. This is where you have a lesson or experience that allows you to change your perspective, thus change the direction that you're headed. So when we look at flex point Aquarius, it looks like you're coming back together with somebody or a situation from the past. And this is somebody that you're happy to see them from the past. You're happy to be coming back together with them. And it looks like for some of you, this could be a child or somebody that you sort of took under your wing. Maybe you were in more of a mother-hen role with this person. And so I think there's a reconnection there. And I think that in this time of reconnection, I think that you are doing a lot to support and encourage and uplift this other person, much more so than they're actually doing for you, even though you're happy to see them. I just feel like they need a boost right now, and you're able to give them that boost. And I think that because you're happy to see them, you're happy to give them that boost as well. What else is going on at the same time? So you have been doing some manifestation yourself, but as you're giving this other person a boost, I think you're not, you're sort of like taking your focus off of that thing that you were manifesting as you're giving this other person a boost, and you're sort of, I think you're really, if there was somebody that you were working with on this manifestation, I think you may even like disengage from that person right now, because it's more important to give this child or this person that you've taken under your wing a boost. And so that has sort of become the priority. And I feel like you've sort of freed this person up to find somebody else to partner up with, at least for right now. And it may be that you have planned on finding a new partner after things calm down a little bit more in your life. What else is going on? it does seem to me like there is some kind of struggle that's happening for you, and I think this has to do with the idea of finances. It looks to me like your whole idea of security and finances is sort of turned on its head right now. And I think that what you're doing, instead of focusing on this other project, I think you're focusing on maintaining what you already have going. So if you were focusing on starting up something on the side, now that's not being focused on, but you are focusing on maintaining that job, because right now what you need is that steady, 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 and now doesn't feel to me like you think it's the time for you to be taking risks in that area. And all of this is tied with the idea of giving somebody else a boost, because you're giving somebody else a boost. You don't want to take risks in the area of finances right now, because it's not just all about you. Now it's you and whoever else that you're helping. All right, let's look and see where you are at the end of the month, Aquarius. Okay, so Aquarius, once we get to the end of the month, we see that you are feeling abundant, like you have plenty. There's a nice flow going on in your life. We like that. And it does look to me like you are really looking into what I call the secrets of the universe, and that's those things that influence our universe that we aren't taught about in fourth grade. Things like law of attraction, anything metaphysical, occult, arcane, tarot cards, runes, things that help us tap into that energetic realm. And so it looks to me like your curiosity is calling you to check out some of those things and see, hey, is that really for real or not? And if you already know it's for real, you may be looking at, how can I apply that more practically in my life? And then the other thing that we see going on during the end of this time frame is we see you finding some time to really meditate and find your peace, find your peaceful place as you work through this life. And I didn't see anything here that really jumped out at me that I want to expand on. There wasn't anything that I went, I need to know more about that right now. So there's not going to be an expanded reading for this part of your month. So thank you, though, very much for being here. I really appreciate you guys spending some of your precious time with me. I also appreciate all the thumbs ups and all the shares on these videos, especially to people that you think may benefit from them. And of course, I appreciate all of you who are buying the expanded readings and participating in the super chats whenever I'm live. And also those of you who are ordering private sessions from me, whether they're Reiki sessions or readings. It is because of all of you guys' support at every single level that I'm able to do what I love to do for my living. So thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic month. And if I don't see you for a private session between now and then, I'll see you back on the next video. Peace out.